Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault 2. And yes, there is a Texas Gun Vault 1, otherwise known as just the Texas Gun Vault. There's a link to that in the description below in case you're seeing this channel and this video for the very first time. And that's where I post all of my proper range reports and product reviews. Here on my second channel, it's a much more casual place where we talk about current events, news, guns that I took to the range that I'm going to make range reports on, or anything else that we just feel like talking about. And the main audience of this channel are my biggest fans, and we're going to put that in air quotes because I really don't have any fans, but I have a lot of wonderful people that follow me. And so I just like to talk about the biggest things going on in the gun community. Of course, right now, that is the whole Sig P320 debacle. And I've made a few videos where I've tried to duplicate the results of the Wyoming gun project when it came to the uncommanded discharges. Now, I was actually on the phone today with the Wyoming gun project. His name is Matt. He's a really cool guy. We are like the same person. We have the same interests, guns, watches, cars, and him and I approach YouTube exactly the same way. It's really refreshing to get to talk to somebody that understands this side of the camera a little bit more than just people that casually watch gun content. But when I was on the phone with him today, I mentioned, you know, there's other guns that actually use the removable fire control unit, because many people have been saying one of the possible problems with the P320 and all of the tolerance stacking or tolerance issues and why these slides can be a little bit loose is the fact the fire control unit has the rails built into it. It's not like a Glock where the rails are actually molded into the frame. And this whole system can rock back and forth a little bit. And if there's anything in there that's out of spec, you might be having problems with these uncommanded discharges or maybe reliability issues. But what a lot of people don't know is that there are other guns that use this same system, but we don't hear about these guns having problems. So what's similar? What's different about these designs? And can we figure anything out? Now, this is not a scientific video, and I am not going to test any of these guns for uncommanded discharges. All we're going to do is take them apart and see what's different. And we can have a discussion and a dialogue in the comment section about what the issue might be. Now, you might be asking to yourself, what other guns use this? I have never heard of any of them. Well, the first gun I want to show you is one of the most underrated pistols on the US market. This is the Steyr M9A1. If you have never shot a Steyr pistol before, you need to do yourself a favor and go try one out. They do a horrible job of marketing them. You rarely see them in gun stores, but they are a pistol that was designed by, I believe, a former employee of Glock back in the 1990s that left Glock and helped them design this. And honestly, I think it has one of the best striker-fired pistol triggers you can ever feel. It's definitely a different designed gun. There's things that are very similar to Glocks, but it feels quite different, and it shoots great. This was the first gun that had the removable fire control group. Now, one of the big differences between the Sig and the Steyr is that this one is a little bit harder to get out. In fact, it's a lot harder to get out. And when Sig came out with the P320, Steyr actually sued Sig over patent infringement. I believe the suit was dropped, but it's pretty much the same idea. And I actually think Steyr had a real case when it came to Sig. They also have a more modern, upgraded version of it. This is the Steyr M9A2, but I believe it pretty much uses the same design fire control unit. So I want to take all these guns apart, essentially field strip them, see what the rails look like, and see if there's any differences. But there was actually one more pistol that was even included in the M17 trials, or the XM17 trials, that used a removable fire control group, and that is the Beretta APX. And this is one of the first generation of the APXs. And I've actually had the fire control group out of this one. This is a little bit harder than the Sig as well, but it's still easier than the Steyr. And the one thing I have noticed is that this gun has a lot of play between the slide and the frame. But once again, when it comes to the Steyr and the Beretta APX, we don't hear about uncommanded discharges. So I want to see what the difference is. So let me go ahead and adjust the camera. Let's take a look at all these pistols and see what we discover. So let's start off by taking apart and getting a closer look at everyone's favorite gun right now, the Sig M17 P320. Of course, we'll drop the magazine, ensure the gun is unloaded. We will then field strip it, pull the slide back, move the disassembly lever down, take the slide off, and here is the fire control unit in the frame. And I'm going to use an awesome pointer here, just a little screwdriver. So we have the fire control unit right here, and you'll notice that it has 4 points of contact between it and the slide, and they're relatively small. Here, 2 in the front and 2 in the back. Now, some people are saying because these portions are so small, if they're just a little bit out of spec, you can get a lot of slide wobble and slop, therefore causing a problem between the connection of the sear here in the back and the striker hook on the striker, and of course it is disengaging the firing pin block, which is right here. So I wanted to compare what we have here and what everyone knows about this pistol with these other modular handguns that utilize a very similar system. So let's take a look now at the Steyr M9A1. Like before, let's drop the magazine and we will ensure the gun is unloaded. Now we are going to pull the trigger, and then we have to push a button here on the side and move this disassembly lever down. This is not as ergonomic to do as other pistols, but once that comes down, the slide will come off. And here we have a much more simple design. You'll also notice that the length of the rails here on the Steyr are much longer and bigger than you have on the M17. When we take a look at the slide, here is something that is very interesting. Here we have our striker, but you'll notice, as far as I can tell, there is no firing pin block. Now, I have looked at this every which way, both on the frame and the slide, and if there's one here, I need somebody to point it out. Now, to show my point, if I remove the recoil spring and the barrel, you will notice that I can put the firing pin through into the chamber. There's nothing blocking it. Even when I pull it all the way back, nothing stops it. So this gun doesn't even have a firing pin block on it. And we don't have any of those uncommanded discharges. I also wanted to note that the slide to frame fit of this pistol is also much tighter, and I think that has a lot to do with the shape of these rails. Now, these rails are not molded into the frame. They are part of the fire control unit. So the gun is now back together, and we have absolutely no slop in this pistol whatsoever. Maybe a little bit, but nothing like the Sig. That is definitely a much better designed fire control unit. Now let's take a look at the newer M9A2 and let's see what they changed in this pistol. Of course, visually inspect the chamber. Let's pull that trigger, push that button down, move that lever down, and here is the fire control unit in this one, and it looks pretty much exactly the same as the older model. Look at the length of those rails as compared to the Sig. So there's the Sig P320. Not a lot of contact there. Still not a lot of contact here, but this length is definitely going to secure that slide onto the frame a little bit tighter and will prevent it from wobbling as much. Everything else looks about the same as the older one, and it appears we do not have a firing pin block on this one either. So I find that to be very interesting. So here we have a striker fired pistol that doesn't even have that firing pin block. And as I said, I might be missing something on this, and I am completely willing to admit that I am wrong. But as I am looking at this pistol, I can't see what that is. So if you know this design a little bit better than me, please tell me in the comment section. But I saw nothing as a plunger coming up to prevent that striker from entering the chamber. But we don't have any uncommanded discharges with this pistol. And when I pull the trigger on this, I really feel like that striker is fully cocked as well. But we do have a trigger dingus safety or blade safety on both of the M9s from Steyr. All right, so now let's move to the Beretta. And this is a more modern pistol, and it was in the XM17 trials. So let's see what's different about this one. Now, I did want to note the slide to frame fit of this one is very sloppy. In fact, it might be even worse than my Sig. I mean, we got a lot of play in there, quite a bit. So let's see what these rails look like. We'll pull this back, make sure the gun is empty. We'll close it, we'll pull the trigger, and I believe on this one we push the slide stop through, and then we can maneuver it down and the slide should come right off. So let's take a look at this fire control unit. And look, we have a full length rail. That is very different than the Sig. So you have no break from the front to the back of that fire control unit. So here it is side by side. As you can see, the rails are very different. Now, does that mean this gun is going to remain in spec and have less slop? Well, I don't think so, because this slide is relatively sloppy fit onto this frame. But maybe it keeps it in place and we don't have those uncommanded discharges with this particular design. So I am not here to tell you anything definitive about these guns, only show you some comparisons and let you draw your own conclusions. Now, when it does come to a striker safety on this pistol, take a look at this one. On the Beretta, this thing is absolutely huge. It's a big old plunger, just like a Glock. And that's something that I really, really do like. And when you go over to the Sig, take a look at how small this one is. It is very tiny. And that doesn't mean it's bad or it's not going to work. It's just noticeably not as robust. So the APX, we don't have the uncommanded discharges. Look at that striker safety, so much bigger. And when it comes to the striker, on this particular gun, yeah, I kind of feel like it's at full cock, but I would have to double check that. But yeah, that feels like it's at full cock, not at half cock like a Glock. But we also have the blade safety. So both these other companies said, hey, we need a blade safety in our pistols. And as you can see, the contact points between the fire control unit and the slide are much more robust. One does not have a striker safety as far as I can tell, and the other one has a gigantic one. We have no reported issues with either of these two, and they have removable fire control units. So tell me in the comment section, what do you think about the differences in these designs? Do you still think there's a flaw in the P320's design? And does it have anything to do maybe with the fact that these rail portions are so small and the striker safety is so small as well compared to the other two? So please tell me what you guys think in the comment section. I would love to know your thoughts. And let me just put this M17 back together. There we go. Looks good. So why is this gun having so many uncommanded discharges? I have no idea. But that's the comparison with the other fire control units from pistols that come apart kind of the same way. So let's have a great dialogue in the comment section. And as always, thanks for watching.